Hi there, welcome to the channel. I'm Marguerite with Wreaths by Marguerite. Today we are going to go through making this rustic Americana storm door wreath for the patriotic season. It's a storm door wreath, like I said. What does that mean? That means it is a wreath that is under 4 inches deep. You can see how thin that looks. So that it will fit behind a storm or a screen door up against your regular door without crushing it. It has the absence of a big bow, but it still has as much ribbon in it in the ribbon tails as you would have with the bow. But these can lie a little flatter without getting smushed. A traditional wreath doesn't really work for behind that kind of a door because, again, the bow is usually big and fluffy and it's just going to get smushed and look terrible. So this is one of the designs that came out quite a few years ago, my most popular sellers, to take care of that issue of decorating your front door without losing it or it looking smushed. So stay with me if you'd like to see how to put one of these together, and let's get this done. All right. Okay, so like I said, we're doing a little bit more rustic and primitive design today. This is not a kit. This is just simply a wreath I'm making for my shop and for craft shows. I sell a lot of the rustic style as well as the more traditional brights, blue, white, and red. So today, these are the ribbon choices that I've made. Everything starts with the sign. So the sign dictates colors and themes in the ribbon as well as the mesh and any other accessories. So this has got a really cute, stitched looking star and blue section of the flag and all this rustic coloring in the background. So I went with 3 ribbons. You can either do 2 or 3 ribbons in a storm door wreath. You can do your tails anywhere from 12 inches long to 14 inches long. My happy medium is 13 inches. I will say though, when I sell the kits, they're 12 inches. That's the standard, easy way to do it for most people. But if you do it other than a kit, if you do this on your own, this is how I do it. I've chosen to go with 2 2.5 inch wide ribbons and 1 1.5 inch wide ribbon. These are all cut at 13. Let me make sure. Yes, I did these in 13 inches. And like I say in a lot of my videos, I like to break up my patterns with the solids. So I went with the solid burlap, the rustic stars and stripes with the more cranberry red, which matches the cranberry red, and this cute little 1.5 inch ribbon that has the scalloped edge. Let me bring it in so you can see a little bit better. This is from a company that's called Deco Exchange. I can give you that information if you reach out to me in this video. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I enjoy answering your questions. So I'm using only wired ribbon. Let me bring this back out. About right there. There we go. So they're cut at 13 inches, and there's 12 pieces of each of the ribbon as well as 12 pieces of the Deco mesh because there are 12 ties in the frame, and I'll go over that in a minute. So I've already put one together. I generally do this to make sure that I'm liking it with the sign and the mesh. I usually put them all together like that. So not always, but often I'll do that. Okay, so this is what's called 10-inch mesh. This is a burlap poly. That means it's got fabric and it's got the burlap strings in it and plastic. So that's what makes it weather resistant without it getting droopy. Holds up really well, holds its shape really well, even if it gets rain, hail, snow on it. So they're 10-inch pieces, 10-inch mesh, cut at 20 inches in length. So I have 12 of those here because of the 12 sets of ribbon tails and the 12 twist ties on the frame. So I'm going to move the sign out of the way for a minute because I'm going to use this first. This and this. The ribbon's going to the side. Okay? I've also already cut all of the ribbon. I know I'm swirling today. I've already pre-cut the tips of all of the ribbon, giving them the dovetail. If you want to see exactly how it's done, the most comprehensive videos that I've done are those that are in the early 2024 time period, where I cut every single piece on camera so you can see every single detail. So I've already pre-made my bundles, so they're ready to go. Put this one back together so it's ready to go. I chose this one to put on the top so I see it. And in those bundles I put the burlap blast, but I'm going to put it in between and put the 1.5 inch on the back so that there's a break in the burlap colors. Otherwise, this ribbon would be up against this, and it'll blend a little more than the fact that I'm going to have it separated. Pardon. Okay, so back to the frame. This is a 14¼ inch frame. There are 6 crossbars. At the moment, they're harder to find because of everything that's going on in the world. I have a ton, but I will do a tutorial later in the season with the 12-inch frames. It's a little different, but not a whole lot, and it actually saves you a little material. It works, but that will be for later because I still have at least 200 frames in this size. There's a variety of places you can find them, but right now everybody's out of stock. So 14¼ 4 rings. It's got to have 4 rings. 3 rings won't work. 6 crossbars. Got to have the 6 crossbars, or this particular design will not work. You attach the pipe cleaners, 6 on the outside 2 rings and 6 on the inside 2 rings. So on the outside 2 rings, you have a pipe cleaner attached at the crossbar around rings 1 and 2. And then the inside 6 are around rings 3 and 4, but centered between the crossbars, okay? I've moved these to the center because I won't be using those right away. The technique is mesh, ribbon, then go back with mesh and ribbon for the top layer. That's how you layer it and keep it in under 4 inches since it's a storm door style. Usually the first thing I do is I lay all of the pipe cleaners out horizontal to me, and you'll notice I'm turning the frame as I'm doing that because we don't want extra strain on our back, so we want to make the wreath do the work for us, doing all the work right directly in front of us instead of reaching across the table and working on it that way. That puts more strain on your arms and backs. And if you're like me, you aren't getting any younger and you want to be able to do the projects without any pain and enjoy the process. That's the whole idea. Enjoy the process. So that's ready. We're going to come in with mesh. And let's get our tools. You need scissors to make this. If you are cutting the mesh yourself, you're going to want to use a cutting mat like this that I have underneath of my project. And then you're going to want a rotary cutter to cut your mesh. You can use scissors, but this is a little more expeditious. And yeah, it's more precise. You use the lines on your mat to do the cutting. So scissors. Then the next thing you need is some wire cutters. And just about all this stuff that we use to make this style wreath is something that you have around the house in your toolbox. Just make sure the scissors aren't used on other things because they will wreck your ribbon. Wreck your wet ribbon. That's all I can say. I always have some needle nose just in case I need help pulling pipe cleaners through the back on the sign. But to alleviate that, I now use a plastic 6-inch embroidery needle to punch through the mesh to the back so I can attach my pipe cleaners from the sign much easier without struggling to get it through the mesh. And it's a struggle. Alright, is there anything else? Oh, a chip clip. I always use a chip clip. That helps me with holding the mesh while I'm ruffling it. Because we're doing the storm door wreath ruffle technique, so it helps to have that. I'll get into that in a minute. If there's any other tools... Oh, yeah. I also use a wood dowel to curl the pipe cleaners at the end. If you don't have a wood dowel, use a pen or pencil. Again, all these things you have for the most part around the house. Also, if you have a ruler, that would be good too, because that way you can find the center of your mesh and any other things that you might need. But if you have the cutting mat, which I recommend to protect your table, especially if you're doing any cutting or gluing, it's got the measurements on here, and you can just use that. But what I do doesn't require a ruler. I use the edge of the table to unroll my mesh because you want your mesh curl side down. But you need to find the center, so I fold it directly in half. And there's my center, so that's where I put the clip at the top. Alright? That also holds it down flatter, so that's good too. So you're not fighting with the mesh. And then on the other side, you're folding it in half to mark the middle with your finger. It's especially important to use that technique when you have a mesh like this, which is solid color. There's no stripes or pattern to it that you can follow. You can use the lines on the mat to follow. That's what I do, as well as ruffling up the center towards the clip. The clip is also a great tool to focus on when you're ruffling, so you stay on center. So let's get started. I've got my pipe cleaners all horizontal. I'm going to gather all my mesh into my thumbs. There's two different techniques I use. One is this way, where I just gather it with both hands all the way up to the top of the wreath mesh, pull that clip off, and I hold it loosely in my index finger and thumb so that I can position my mesh if it's not completely circular and the edges aren't matching. Also, big tip, don't ever pull your mesh from the end, because that's going to change the design in there. It's a pretty loose weave, so it's easy to mess up. Okay, so now I'm going to lift it up so that I have the pipe cleaner I'm working on in front of me horizontal, and I'm going to take my mesh and put it in there vertically. Okay, I'm going to bring that up and around, and I'm going to twist it low. Twist it tight and low 2 to 3 times, and you're doing that because you want to keep the profile of your wreath under the 4-inch depth. Okay, so then I'm going to take the outside cut edge over the inside cut edge, the outside cut edge of the mesh over the inside cut edge, and it's way off. So I'm going to fix that by holding the pipe cleaner and adjust by pulling out at the base of the pipe cleaner to match up these ends so that you get that good circle. Okay, keeping in mind the most important part is the part on the outside of the frame. This mesh, the only mesh they're going to see is what's out here, because this is all going to be covered by ribbon tails and another layer of mesh and some more ribbon tails. So I'm grabbing it down by the base to adjust it. Somehow, some way, at least the first couple, I tend to have to do a little more adjustment on each project. It's just till you get into the groove of things and your muscle memory kicks in. So there's that first one. I'm going to go around and do one more here. I always skip every other because I want it to lay perfectly flat as possible so that this can truly be for a storm door wreath. So let me do one more, and then I'm going to skip ahead until we get the mesh done on this layer. This is the other technique I use when gathering. Use one hand to gather and one hand to hold it flat. That's especially helpful when you get to the pieces of mesh that are further into the roll, because they curl up even more and they like to fight you. The clip helps hold it down. So there's that. I think I'll do one more before I fast forward on you. Get that in there, tight and low. And like I said, if you'd like to see the more detailed direction, very much step by step by step, every single piece, the earlier 2024 videos are going to be your best bet. As you go along, if anything frays, deal with that as you go so you don't have to go back and find it later. And another tip I have is make sure you wear some short sleeves and nothing new. You're going to snag it with this stuff. This mesh is like Velcro. It attaches itself to everything. So you'll notice that the more it's built, the more it's going to attach things on your table. So keep anything you don't have to have in your immediate area out of the way, so that when you're putting it together, you're not, gathering everything off the table and carrying it around on the bottom of the wreath. Because I can't reiterate enough, this stuff is like Velcro, will stick to everything and bring it on along the way with it. So there's the first 3, 2, 3. And I'm lifting the pipe cleaners in the air to get them out of the way, so that when I'm doing this outside cut edge over the inside cut edge, it's not deterring me. So there we go, and we are going to stop here, and I will do the other 3 and come back. Putting the 6 pieces of mesh in, and I've gone ahead and started on the ribbon tails to keep the time down so I don't bore you too much. So as you can see, I put the ribbon tails in every other pipe cleaner. So I'm going to go back with you guys and do that again with the other 3 for this layer. So what I did was, the first thing I did was I took all my pipe cleaners and placed them vertically to me, because the ribbon's going in horizontally. So the pipe cleaners go horizontal when you're putting the mesh in, the pipe cleaners go vertically when you're putting the ribbon tails in. So I'm opening my bundles and I'm going to gather the ribbon at the crease from folding it in half. I'm going to turn the tails down towards me an upside down V before I put them into the frame. That helps the ribbon, the tips of the ribbon stay to the outside edge of the mesh, because you're not going to see much of this ribbon. You want as much of it to be out to the outer edge as possible. And making that V shape before you put it into the pipe cleaners helps it stay out there. It doesn't do it entirely, but it's a lot better than waiting until after you put it in the pipe cleaners to do that, because it's not going to stay out as well. What I've done, I'm going to finish this one and then I'll explain the next one to you entirely. Tuck in the cut pipe cleaner in there, and I'm going to lift and separate the ribbon and place them in the position I want them in. So I'm putting the burlap in the center, then I'm going to put, the fancy ribbon, then the stars and stripes, okay? And so these three will overlap these. And on this side, I do it the opposite direction. So now what I'm going to do is still lift the top two away from the bottom ribbon in the bundle. That's going to stay where it's at, because I'm going to bring this up and bring the fancy ribbon to the front. We call it fancy panty ribbon because it's scalloped like fancy panties. It's the little things that amuse us, right? And I like to hold my hand down at the top while I make sure everything's in position. I never hold the ribbon from the tips where it's cut, because again, the more you handle the cut edges of the ribbon and the mesh, the more it's going to fray, okay? Alright, so back, turning it around, making it do the work for me, meaning put what you're working on directly in front of you. Open my bundle, ruffle up the center, hold it in my thumb and forefinger, take the rest of the ribbon and pull it towards me evenly, creating an upside down V. Making sure that those pipe cleaners are vertical, put this in the pipe cleaner. Twist tight and low 3 times again. 1, 2, 3. That's to secure it and keep it short. But then we're going to twist upwards till we create about a 1.5 inch twist. And we're going to cut the untwisted portion of the ribbon, the pipe cleaners, off and throw it away. We can either push the stub of pipe cleaner down into the mesh now, or do it after you've positioned your ribbon, because sometimes, like at that last one I did, when I lift and separate my ribbon, the pipe cleaners like to pop back up. I'm running my fingers over the edges as I position the ribbon, and then sometimes from the gathering it makes this like little pocket of bubble, so I try to get that bubble out. And on the other side again, remember I am keeping the burlap in the center, and then I'm bringing the cranberry down here with the fancy panty ribbon, and then I hold it, and then I make sure everything is as close to the outside as I can, and we'll do that one more time, okay? This will be the last one for this layer. Ruffle up the center, hold it, pull it down towards the edge of the table, place this in the center, and twist it tight and low. 1, 2, 3 with the pipe cleaner, then up, make a 1 inch twist. 1.5 inch twist is usually safest. Cut the excess untwisted pipe cleaner off and throw it in the trash. I like to throw it in the trash as I go so I don't end up catching it in the wreath, because again, like I said, it's just like Velcro. I'm going to position my ribbon. This is going up here. This is going down here. I'm running my fingers over it to get any wrinkles out. Okay, lift and separate. This time it's going to go down here with this and the stars and stripes up. I'm going to hold it. Make sure all my ribbon is looking good, right side up, not wavy. And that completes the first layer of this wreath, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to pull the pipe cleaners up from the back. Those 6. Let me open this up a little bit. And I'll bring it up here. I'm going to pull those 6 pipe cleaners up in between each set of 2 pieces of mesh to the front of the wreath. And when I do that, I always lay them right away in a horizontal position, because that's how I'm going to be using it. That's 2. Bring this one up. Doing the same. That's 3. Come here. So it's coming up between 2 pieces of mesh. Okay. Some more. Just bring that up there. Show it who's in charge. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's get that last one up there. The placement of the pipe cleaners and the mesh absolutely make all the difference in the world for keeping this wreath as flat as possible. Okay. Now it's time to do the mesh for the second layer. So, using that edge of the table to uncurl it. It's always curl side down. Always remember that. The mesh is always curl side down. Folded on the ends. See, it's the curl is more intense, so it likes to fight me more. Worst case scenario, what you do is you put your phone or something on this end to hold it. But that's also why I do it this way when I ruffle. I ruffle a little with both hands, and then I just hold it down flat with the other and taunt. That really does help keep the mesh from fighting against you, especially when it's curlier, like I said. Make sure those edges are matched up and go to your wreath. Again, we're doing every other piece of mesh, every other pipe cleaner, we're taking the mesh and putting it in every other pipe cleaner. That's what I'm trying to say. I think I'm the master of tongue twisting myself. All right, get that so that's nice and circular on the outside, not pulling from the outer edge. This is all going to be covered. This is what is really the most important. Skip this one. I'm putting that in there. And then we'll go into this. I think I have all 12 pieces. If not, I have more pre-cut. I always have more pre-cut. Fold it in half. Put the center, curl side down. You notice that I'm not every time now folding it half on the bottom edge because I've done this a few times. You get comfortable. And you can always make an adjustment once you get it in your thumb and forefinger if you're way off. Or start over. And I also like to turn the wreath a little bit to an angle. I don't know if that's because I'm left-handed, and I probably should have indicated that at the beginning. So if any of this seems backwards, that may be why. I just can't do things right-handed. Even when I hold my scissors, a right-handed person holds their scissors like that. That's the most uncomfortable feeling for me. I hold it like this. But guess what? It works, and that's the bottom line. Okay? All right, back to rough positioning this mesh. And we're always, always doing outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. And you're probably asking yourself, if you haven't figured it out already, Marguerite, why do you place it in there vertically so that the cut edges are there? That allows me to have all the cut edges of the mesh covered by something so that it's not exposed to the outer edge. If I were to put the mesh in horizontal, there'd be cut edges out towards the edge. And that just opens the opportunity for more fraying. So that is why I always put my mesh in the way I do, vertically. And that's why I always put the outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. Yep, I'm short 2 pieces. Let me put these last 2 in, and I will go grab some of the spares I have. I always have extras. This is my most used mesh in my entire supply. It's just so incredibly versatile and weather resistant. I love fabric mesh because it is softer on the hands to work with, but there's a lot more fabric in it. So yes, it's still sustainable in weather, but this has far more than half plastic in it, but it still looks very, very burlappy. I've done wreaths with burlaps, especially, what do you call it, ruffle wreaths. Very rustic. I don't know that I've done a video with one of those yet. I may have to do one now that I think about it. I do a farmhouse wreath with rustic appeal. Okay, so that one. That was the first 3. We'll do this, and then I'm going to grab 2 extra pieces. Not extra, 3 more pieces that I need. They're not extra. Sorry, I'm getting dry all this talking. And you'll see, and now I'm more consistent, having to make less adjustments the more of these I ruffle. Like I said, it's muscle memory, I'm telling you. So now we're going back between each of the pieces that we already put in of the mesh on this layer. Tight and low 2 to 3 times. Outside cut edge over inside cut edge. Outside cut edge over inside cut edge. I'm not grabbing it from the end, I'm bringing it up from the center to adjust it evenly. There we go. Let me real quick get up and get 2 pieces of mesh that I just put away. All right. There's 1, and there's 2. I make a lot of, oops. I make a lot of kits, so I have a lot of pieces pre-cut that end up being spares, which is just fine. All right. Make sure this one's ready. That one's hitchhiking. We don't want you here yet. Thank you. Curl side down always. Concentrate on that chip clip at the top so I stay centered, since this is a solid design. No stripes that are standing out to help me stay focused on my straight line. And if the ribbon gets in the way when you're putting the top layer mesh in, don't fuss with it too much, because at the end we are going to fluff the entire wreath a little bit, so we'll get to it then. It comes back, my reasoning is it comes back to the less you handle it, the better. The less you handle it, the less opportunity for fray. Let's get this up here. So yeah, we want to try to avoid the fraying whenever possible. This needs to come out here a little bit. And last but not least, pipe cleaners are horizontal. Unroll the curl. I use the table. Fold it in half, curl side down. Place a clip at the center point to hold it flat on the table and to mark your center. Fold it on the other end to find the center. Gather with your thumbs on the outside. I'm going to do it one last time with both hands instead. See, it's starting to fight me. That's why I like to do that with my hand. It does help me a lot. Give it a try and go with what you're most comfortable with and what you think gives you the best results. All right. That one's really bugging me. Okay, stay out of the way. All right. Put your mesh in the pipe cleaner in front of you vertically, making sure you're working on the pipe cleaner that's directly in front of you so you're not creating strain on your back or arms. Reaching across the table, tight and low 3 times with the twists. And then you're going to take that outside cut edge and put it over the inside cut edge on one side. The outside cut edge over the inside cut edge on the other side. Lift it up and out of the way. So there we have that complete. Now you have a decision to make. Do you want to put all the ribbon in first and then the sign? Or do you want to put the sign in first and then the ribbon second? I, most of the time, put the sign in before I put the ribbon because I like the ribbon a little bit overlapping the sign to frame it. Unless you have a specific shape that you think it's going to hide, meaning the sign is a heart or like the signs I use that look like flip-flops, or Easter eggs, you're not going to see the design very well if you put the ribbon last. Then I put the ribbon first and then the sign last, so you can see the entire shape. Sometimes with worded signs too, like USA, sometimes I need to do that. The sign is already prepped. It's a metal sign. It's a 12 by 6. I love this sign. You can't staple anything to it, so to put the cable tie mounts on, you use hot glue on top of cable tie mounts, and then you use super glue behind the cable tie mount, and then you put hot glue around the outer edge to give it extra support. because hot glue is not enough to secure these metal signs, because in extreme heat or extreme cold, they're going to pop off. So I'm going to let this dry for a little bit more, and we will be right back. Okay, I'm back. Get this screen back. So let me bring it in and show you a little bit closer what I did. Not much closer. I can't get it any closer. So see there? It's nice and dry. I've taken 2 pipe cleaners, cut them in half, so that gives us 4 pieces for each of these. Twist them through the cable timeout and you're set to go. Now, I keep the plastic out so I protect the sign so it doesn't end up scratched. You have a couple of things that you could do. I'm making a true storm door wreath, so I am going to find 1 pipe cleaner at the top and put 1 at the bottom at 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock with the 4 pipe cleaners to the side. Because I want to place the sign directly centered in the wreath, like that, okay? But if you want to enhance the wreath even more, this is the true storm door style. You can add a bow if you want. So if you do that, I always recommend putting the ribbon first, the ribbon tails first, and then bring your sign up higher. Or if you have a square or a shape that's like a heart or a flag, just a little flag, and you want to put a bow on it, so you either put it here and put the sign here, or in that case you would put it further over to the side. It won't hang off the side of the wreath like this looks like it's doing. I'm going to use this box as a sample. So pretend this is a sign that's like that size. You could put the sign here and then put a beautiful bow there. It's not going to sit as flat behind a storm or screen door because it has the bow, but not everybody buys a storm door wreath for a storm door. They put it all over the place, and there's nothing wrong with that. I have them on my walls in the house too. So back to how we're doing it. I've got 1 pipe cleaner at 12 o'clock, 1 at 6 o'clock, and I'm placing this rectangular, almost like a license plate size, I would say. Yep. In between these 4 sets of pipe cleaners. So that's how I know these 2 tell me where my center is. And I usually use the letters and the words to determine the center, or you can just take a ruler or your table and find your center. So this is a 12-inch sign, so 6 o'clock would be where the D in Freedom is. So I know that, let me pull these up front. I know my D needs to be right even with this pipe cleaner. Okay. So this is where I'm going to come in with that embroidery needle, and I'm going to pull the pipe cleaners on the back of the sign through all the mesh to the back of the wreath so we can attach it to the frame. But I'm going to do it in X fashion. So I usually do 1 corner here and then go here, then do this corner and go here. We do 2, we flip the sign, attach them, then we come back and do the other 2. So that's what I'm going to do now. First I'm going to take these couple of frays that I just noticed off of the wreath mesh. There we go. So when I do this, I like to bring the needle in just inside of the pipe cleaners that are there for the ribbon tails. I bring it to the edge of the table usually, so that I can get the needle all the way through the frame. I take at the end of the pipe cleaner on the sign, I pull it through the needle, and then pull the needle through the back of the frame to the frame. Pull it off the needle. Remember I did that one, so that means I'm going to do this one next. Why do I do it this way? Keeps the sign from being angled in a cockeyed fashion when you're done. We want it to sit in the wreath, but not be buried and make the wreath look puckered. So I'm doing that on this side now, and I'm putting the needle in at a slight angle so that it goes more under the sign than out, so that there's no sign of this pipe cleaner from the sign visible from the front or the side, because people do see the side of the wreath when they're walking in the door. We're trying to hide all the mechanics we can. Get that off the needle. I'm going to make sure that's still centered, and I'm going to put that bubble wrap on it before I flip it so that I protect the sign and not scratch it. Okay. And there are the pipe cleaners here and here. So I'm just going to push down a little bit on the frame to nestle it into the wreath, not smush it in there. And just wrap the pipe cleaner around the frame. And I try to do it where some of the pipe cleaners are from the mesh. so it's all the same. And then I take and wrap it around the frame until it's gone. And then when I get to the very end of the pipe cleaner, the sharp point, I always push back towards the front of the wreath, so that if somebody has glass on their door, or even just because, there's no chance of that scratching the door. We have to think about those things. We don't want to make our customers mad if we're making these to sell like I do. Now that I have it turned over, I can see the fray. I also don't have my glasses on, which is a no-no, but hey. I'm still after all these years defiant with my glasses. I wear them when I absolutely have to. Shame on me, right? So I'm getting that one twisted in there. I'm pushing the tip down to the front of the wreath, flipping it over. And we are going to go ahead and do this one and this one now. Same thing. So it's nestled in there, but it's not, and also if you pull it too tight, the metal signs are going to bow. That's not a good look either. So I'm putting that through the frame, putting the tip of the pipe cleaner through the tip of the embroider needle, push it in, pull it through, go to the other corner. Notice every time I'm bringing the portion I'm working on to me, not reaching across the table. Don't strain yourself. Put that through the needle, put it through the frame, put this back on top of the sign to protect it, and then just wrap these pipe cleaners around the frame, putting a little pressure on the frame so that it stays down. I'm going to lift it up to work on the other one, not drag it around in a circle, because I don't want to do anything to jack up the sign. Scratch it, jack it up, you know. And then we're going to just wrap it around the frame so it's completely gone. And you noticed I didn't talk about this earlier, but you can see now why I use burlap colored, beige colored pipe cleaners on the frame, because it blends in with the mesh and it gives it a cleaner look on the back, so that if you do have it on a glass door on the other side, it's not going to look like, you know, bright orange pipe cleaners on beige. I know that's extreme, but I think you get what I'm saying. Everything's matchy-matchy so that it looks nice and neat. So that's done. We don't need the wrap anymore, the bubble wrap. Don't need the needles, so let me put some things away. Alright, so now it's time to go back and put the pipe cleaner, put the ribbon into the last 6 sets of pipe cleaners. I always do the pipe cleaners in the 12 o'clock and 6 position last, because I like how the ribbon sits on the other bundles from 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock, and it's got a more finished look, I think. Put some dust on there. So I usually do this one and then this one, then this one, and then these two. And what I'm going to do is a little different on the top. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to do the inverted V. I'm going to make sure my pipe cleaner is vertical, because the ribbon's going in horizontal. But I'm not doing that inverted V. I'm putting them in straight across like this. I'm tying the pipe cleaner tight and low 3 times. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift and separate the ribbon. I'm going to keep the burlap in the center like I have all along on the bottom. But I'm going to bring one cranberry red on that side. Put the stars and stripes on this side. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side, where on the bottom layer I had opposite on each side. I did it so on the bottom I would have put the cranberry over here and the stars over here. No, on the top layer it's going to be the same on both sides, okay? Now, this is where a decision needs to be made as well. I'll do these at the end. I can do it exactly like this all the way around, or I could do every other with the stars and stripes out and every other with the stars and stripes in, which is what I'm choosing to do today. Gives it even more dimension, more for the eye to look at. Oop, I didn't get that one ready. See, after this one, I gotta get all of them positioned. The pipe cleaner should have been in a vertical position. Tight and low, I'm twisting it. 1, 2, 3. We're always cognizant of keeping this as short as possible so it stays under 4 inches so that it will fit neatly behind the storm door. Lift and separate. Always start with the back. I don't do the top to the bottom. That you end up touching it a whole lot more, because if you do the top ribbons first, then you're going to have to touch it again when you get done, because you're going to have messed it up when you worked on the bottom. On and on and on. Here is a point in time where you can also use this dowel to curl your ribbon if you want it really poofy. You just take it under each ribbon or all 3 at once and give it a cute little curl. Learned this from a customer when I was teaching a class. I love that idea. Even if you do this curl like this, it looks to be making it deeper, the wreath deeper, but when you put it behind your storm door, it's just gonna push it down flat. So it's up to you. I like to make sure that they are as fluffy as possible, especially when I'm doing pictures and craft shows, so that people can see how fluffy it can be. Let's do the other side. So I put the stars on the inside. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side of the tail. Okay. Fluff it a little. Now before I go any further, I'm going to show you 2 different versions of using the pipe cleaner here. You can either twist it up, give yourself at least a 2-inch twist at this time, and cut the excess off, and you can just tuck it behind all your ribbon so that all you see here is a stub of pipe cleaner, and you can put something else there or just leave it like that. Or you can do my favorite way to do it. I'm going to have to unfluff this. I'm going to have to refluff this and untwist this. And yes, I know I work off of the table a little bit, but it's more comfortable for me. Again, like I say about anything, you find your comfort level, your way of doing things. I'm here to give you ideas. So what I like to do is, if the pipe cleaners are specific, particularly one of them longer than the other from twisting, I will take the wire cutters and cut the longer ones so they're even. If it's not too much, I leave it alone. Because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the inside pipe cleaner and wrap it around this wood dowel pen or pencil I have, turning it away from me as I'm curling it. And on this side, I'm curling it towards me. And there's even one more thing you could do. I like to leave them like this unless I have embellishments to put on them. Otherwise, you can open them up so they look like a curl. Like a curl. Or you can leave them down like this. You can just leave them like a curl like that. It almost looks like a firework. You could put styrofoam balls on it that are sparkly, or anything else that you can think of that would work well as an accessory with this particular design. So I'm going to put it back here because I'm just going to center it there. Fix the ribbon I jacked up. And I'm going to do that on this side. Yeah, that one's way off in length. It just depends on how you twist your pipe cleaner, how much longer one of them ends up being than the other. Things you don't think of, right? I try to give you all my tips and tricks I've learned so you don't have to go through the same things. Or at least you're aware of them when they come upon you so you have some solutions to work with. So those 2 are ready to go. So now I'm going to go, I'm skip 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock, and I'm going to go do these 2 here. Starting with the top one first. I just like how it lays when I do this one before I do this one. Ruffle it up. Oh, you guys, I didn't remember to get my pipe cleaners ready. So see, now I'm holding it in one hand and making it harder on myself than I have to. So there we go. And it goes tight and low. 1, 2, 3. So since that one has the stars out, this one should be having the stars to the outer edge. Because I'm doing every other, remember? Getting those little bubbles out, turning it to adjust it. Bringing that one over here, running my fingers over it to get it curly and to get any kinks out of it. Really like the idea of using that. When I'm doing shows and if they get really wrinkly, this is my other favorite tool. If I get a wrinkle or a fold in this, if you put a hair straightener on a very low setting and just run it over the ribbon quickly, it not only gets the wrinkles out, it also gives it a little bit of a curl. Do this one. Curl this inside one towards the sign. Curl the outside one towards me. There's a lot of little things to remember, but it's easier when it's broken down in the steps and you're doing all the same thing in a row. So then that way it's easier to remember and not forget to do it. So now it's this one. I brought it in front of me. I've gotten to really like the Americana Patriotic, so much so that my living room is this cranberry red, the blue, and the burlappy rustic look, and then the kitchen is the bright reds and blues. Needless to say, my whole house is decorated for every major holiday. If you know, you know. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now this one, the stars goes towards the center. So we're bringing the cranberry to the outer edge, getting those bubbles out too. There we go. Center, outside, inside. This one's got an attitude. I want you to stay there. There it is. Always be cognizant that you're gathering the ribbon where the crease is from making the bundles so that you stay centered when you're putting that ribbon in your frame. Okay, in the mesh. Curl away from me, curl towards the sign, curl towards me, away from the sign. When I'm making wreaths that I think might end up going to a man, I don't like to do the curly thing. I usually do the twisting and hiding behind, unless I have some really cute buttons to put on them. Buttons that have a shank on the back, which is that little loop, are great for putting on these pipe cleaners to hide the mechanics of the pipe cleaner. You can go to my sunflower storm door wreath. I think it was either April or May of 2024 to see how to attach those. All right, so now we just have 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock to do. Everybody else is positioned. So it's time to put them in. I'm going to ruffle that. Bring it up here in the center here. Twist 3 times. Tighten low. Get them out of the way while I position my ribbon so the star is towards the center. So that means the fancy panty ribbon is towards the sign, and the stripe is towards the outside of the wreath. Go there. I'm doing it wrong. I should have done this one before the stripes. Let's give it a little curl. Take a look at it, make sure they're not cockeyed. Because right after I do these videos, I do my pictures. So I want it right. I want it right anyway. Okay. Twist around, dowel a pen or pencil. Anything thicker than a pencil is too thick. You won't get very much curl to your pipe cleaner. You do the little curls. That all looks pretty good. I'll have to stand up and look at it when I get done too. If you want to make absolutely sure you have everything positioned correctly, take a quick picture with your phone. It's amazing how different things look from the naked eye versus your phone. That's always a helpful way to see if you've missed something. So I'm going to gather that up, put it in the pipe cleaner. Tight and low. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Get this one done. So this one, we're going to put the cranberry red fancy panty ribbon to the outside, and we're going to put the stars and stripe towards the inside. So you can now see stars in, stars out, stars in, stars out, stars in, stars out. So just more added dimension. Turn it a little bit more so I'm not struggling. Lift and separate. The burlap one likes to come along with the other ribbon. It is what it is. Get all those bubbles out, turn the ribbon right side out. Make sure they're all right and even, and I'm going to find that that really helps. Gives them that pretty curl. Okay, I need to curl this, and then we'll be done. Curl towards the sign. Curl away from the sign. Put that away. Get my tools all put away. Let's try to keep a clean workspace. These little things over here keep trying to hitchhike. Stay. Where did I put you? Scissors away. I probably should keep the scissors out in case I need to trim any more fray, but put these away. Try to keep a clean workspace. I'm going to stand. And I'm going to make sure all the ribbon on the bottom layer is pulled to the outer edge. When you do that, you're going to lift up the mesh from the top layer because you don't want to just tug on that ribbon. It'll end up catching on the mesh, and it'll either cause snags in your ribbon or snags in your mesh. You don't want that. You want to see that pretty ribbon. I'm lifting that mesh up before I do it. It got wrinkled. Get in there. I always forget where I start, so I end up probably either missing one or doing one twice. That's it. Okay. Make sure it's... How's that top look? Let me look in the camera. Okay, there. There you have it. And it's super thin, under 4 inches deep. Isn't that look so thin compared to the top? Doesn't that look so much fluffier? I love it. So there you have it. All right, there it is, complete. Now you understand the concept of how it works, how easy it really is to put one of these together, how thin it really is, and how beautiful it's still going to look on your door. It's a great gift. This one will be available in my shop as of the time that this video is released. If it's not there, reach out to me and I'll let you know if I can make it again. If not, there's a lot of wonderful stuff in my Etsy shop of the same name, Wreaths by Marguerite. That information will be down in the description. And as always, I want to thank you for spending time with me today. I know you can spend your time doing anything, and the fact that you've carved out some time in your day to spend with me and learn how to make these wreaths, it means a lot to me. I will continue to do so. I put out content every Sunday at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, God willing. So far, so good. If you subscribe to the channel, you'll be able to get notifications to let you know when they're coming out. I'm also on Facebook. that is where I also show all my new product, even the stuff that I don't make on the YouTube videos, because believe me, I make a lot more than just what you see in the video, because I do craft shows. What was I going to say? Let's see. Yeah. If you subscribe to the channel, it's not costing you any money. It's just to allow them to give you notifications. But like I said, Facebook is the place to go if you want all the information. I'm also on Pinterest and Instagram, but mostly you'll find me on Facebook and YouTube. So thanks again. I hope you have a great day. Happy summer coming up. Enjoy the time of the year when it's a little warmer. I'm back and forth on that. I like to be in it sometimes and I don't. So, you know, in Nebraska, we get all the 4 seasons, so I get a good mix of everything. So thanks again and have a great day. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.